Alright everybody, welcome to Rabblin Reviews, our new fan fiction review slash discussion time on Ponyslivenow. I am Edoc and we have...
This is Rev here.
And we're going to be doing this, maybe, hopefully weekly. It's going to be interesting. We'll figure it out.
It's going to be weekly.
It's going to be weekly. There you have it. Alright, so we're going to be doing our first one on Memory Pending by Kerberos. Kerberos. Alright, I will read, unless you want to, Rev, I will read the introduction. Okay, during a traumatic event, an outsider finds himself flung violently into Equestria. His physical form is wrapped into that of the inhabitants, but will his mentality follow? And even more importantly, will any pony truly accept him for who he is? Take a journey alongside this inexperienced youth as he finds himself in a strange new world with very different customs, and tries his hardest to find a place for himself where he didn't before. I pity he can't even remember his name.
And before we go any further, I just want to remind all you listeners that there will be spoilers in this, so if you want to go ahead and read it before listening, go click the link in the description. It will be amazing.
Yes, we definitely encourage you guys to read this before we do this. We'll, at the end of this, we'll give you the next story we're going to be doing. Alright, so what'd you think, Rev? I
love this story. It had a lot of interesting elements that you don't see a lot of, and it was put together very well.
Yeah, it was really, really well put together. At the beginning, basically, you see this random guy, or pony, you see him in this new world he hasn't been before. He's completely battle damaged, and he has memories of war and stuff like that. And he was just kind of dropped off in Equestria. And basically throughout the book, he's trying to figure out who he is, where he came from, and all that good stuff. It was good.
Yeah, and the story does something not usually used, is it introduces a lot of humor, not in the form of jokes, but in the way the main character even thinks. It's actually quite funny.
Definitely. Like, for example, like in the second chapter, this guy gets so scared of seeing a pony. Like, he doesn't really realize himself that he's a pony, or when he does, he thinks that, like, there's no males in this town, and all the females want to eat the males, and it's just this ridiculous thoughts. Because, I mean, he's never seen a pony before, and wherever he's come from. And, so he actually gets so scared that he actually wets himself, and then, like, the other ponies step in it, and it gets so ridiculous.
Basically, the character is a very logical person, but he's also a pessimist to the extreme. So he might think of a logical conclusion and work through the steps to get to it, but it will be the worst case scenario possible. Hence, thinking that all the females eat the males due to him not seeing any males within the first 10 minutes of his encounters with the residents of Ponyville.
There's definitely a lot of humor to this fic. You can tell within the first, 9 chapters, there's definitely a lot of humor. But there's also some romance involved as well, not only with the main character and, he kind of has a crush for Fluttershy throughout the thing, and then eventually Twilight. And but other than that, there's also, of course, there's the famous Applejack Rainbow Dash, but it's nothing too severe. It's actually quite mild.
Yeah. Nothing. It's rated teen for a reason. There's implied things, but nothing ever happens. And it just takes a look at the world of Equestria from a very logical person, and it puts it in a whole new perspective. I mean, it's really, the story itself is split up into 3 main parts. It's the beginning part, which contains most of the humor and the introduction to most of the characters. Then the middle part, which is actually a majority of the story, a good 8 chapters, where we get more feeling for where our main character comes from and his interactions and with the main 6 and others. And then the main conflict really doesn't happen until, I would say, chapter 12. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's kind of weird how this turned out, because basically 1 through 11 is it's just getting to know the characters, getting to know where this main character is at. It's very interesting, though. I'm not saying it's bad or by any means, but there's definitely what's a good way to put it? It's just not as intense, but like the last couple chapters are very intense, like action packed. I mean, this whole thing's, throughout the entire thing, the main character is just getting hurt like time after time, like he's so clumsy, or just unfortunate events happen. Towards the end here, it gets really crazy. Personally, I'm not a science kind of guy. I actually kind of didn't understand the ending too well. I know Rev understood it better. Do you want to explain it?
Yeah. It takes some basic knowledge. You have to pay attention throughout the entire fic to get, what's going on at the end. But basically, he and Rainbow Dash have to travel back to his planet to sever a connection that was causing him to actually, anytime he touched somebody, to actually start dragging them back into his universe. It was really interesting. It takes a lot of you have to catch all the science talk and somehow understand little bits of it, and then you get it.
Yeah, definitely. I never really paid attention in science class, so I was kind of behind on that part. But it was a good fic. Even if you are in the science like me, it's still a good fic. It's a good story.
Yes, definitely.
It's not something to discredit, I guess. But just know towards the end it might get a little confusing if you're not in the science.
Yeah.
Just a little warning there.
Yeah, and usually they do explain, what exactly they're doing, but so if you do end up getting lost, you might want to go back and read a couple paragraphs up. I'm sure somewhere it's in there. You just gotta maybe look a few words up. They do use big words sometimes. Now here comes the kicker in the story. It has 2 epilogues. Now my recommendation is to read the second epilogue first, so you're ready for the sequel to the story. And then if you want, you may read the first epilogue. The first epilogue was put into place to end the story, but before the author realized that a lot of people wanted the sequel, and it answers some questions that are not answered in the second epilogue. But it is just the standard Celestia and Twilight at a Funeral with the rest of the cast, which isn't a bad thing, but it's been done before. But it was well written. But we've seen it before. While as the second chapter gave us answered some of the same questions, but didn't answer them all. It left us looking forward to the sequel.
Definitely. Without the first epilogue, I think it would be safe to say that this is not a sad fic. It has a sad tag, but I think without the first epilogue, I don't think this would be sad at all.
No, not worthy of sad tag.
I can definitely see the romance, comedy, and adventure, obviously, but I'm not saying he's wrong putting the sad tag in there because obviously the epilogue's there. But I'm saying without the epilogue, if you're looking for extremely sad fic throughout the entire thing, this is not the one for you. No. But it's still good. It's still excellent, though.
Yes, and we definitely recommend reading it. But I guess we'll move on to our weekly recommendation. And since this is our first episode, let me explain what that is. Our weekly recommendation is when we take a story that is incomplete, and we recommend it that you read it because it looks good, and what we've read so far is good, and you follow it on FimFiction or wherever it is, and make sure you keep up to date because most likely we will be reviewing it once it is complete. And our weekly recommendation for this week is Redemption. That is a story where somebody finds Celestia and Luna on Earth and takes care of them.
Our next fic that we will be reviewing will be Our True Colors.
The link is in the description. That is a sad. I think it has a sad tag. It's more of a sad fic than this one, but it also is a very heartwarming tale. This has been Rabblin Reviews with me, Revere,
and Edoc.
And we'll see you next time where our third partner, Joey, will be joining us.
Joey?
Our third partner, Viper, will be joining us.